Hey, what's up, everyone? Alyssa Knight here in Las Vegas. I will be speaking at Interop 2019 tomorrow on my recent vulnerability research into 30 financial services mobile apps. If you missed the news story around that on Wired Magazine, PC World, as well as other news and media outlets such as Dark Reading, the research was around me downloading these financial services and fintech mobile apps that I had downloaded from the Google Play Store and extracted off of the Android device, reverse engineered the binaries, and was able to actually access the source code. Now, in that source code, I found that many of the apps had hard-coded API keys and API tokens, as well as credentials, leading to not only just the API servers for the financial institutions, but also the API servers for third-party payment processors, as well as AWS resources such as S3 buckets. So devastating findings, and I will be speaking at 15 different conferences this year in different countries. My next stop that I'll be bringing you guys along to is London, where I will be speaking at InfoSec Europe. So what is on my content calendar for my research at IT Group this year? First and foremost, I will be covering API security. We are at the second phase of the Arxen research project that Arxen Technologies commissioned IT Group to perform, and I was the researcher on. So phase one of In Plain Sight was the reverse engineering of the mobile apps. And what Arxen's technology does is it allows you to do what's called application shielding of mobile apps, as well as these new hybrid mobile apps and web applications. So in phase one, again, the apps were not shielded. There was no code obfuscation of the app that prevented me from decompiling it and understanding the source code and actually discovering these findings. And phase two, we will be doing that at the web application on the server side. So these application shielding solutions like Arxen will allow you to take the web form of, let's say, an e-commerce site and obfuscate it. So these mage cart hacking groups and other form jacking hacking groups that are inserting card skimmers into the checkout systems of these e-commerce sites can't do that because the web form is obfuscated with this product. So a lot of the e-commerce sites, like the recent British Airways site that was compromised by the mage cart groups, and credit cards skimmed off of the site. Forbes just got compromised 6 days ago. They were hit by a mage cart group. So what these are is these are virtual card skimmers. So if you guys remember those physical devices that people talked about, being inserted into ATM machines, any kind of payment device, such as even a gas station pump that would have a card skimmer installed on it. The victim didn't know that the card skimmer was there. They put their credit card in the payment device, whether it's an ATM or, say, a gas pump, and the mag stripe information would be lifted off of the card and sent to the hacker. These virtual card skimmers pretty much operate in the same way, where it's just really a few lines of code that the hacker adds to the form under this moniker of mage cart. And a lot of people and a lot of news stories have referred to mage cart as a tool or a single hacking group, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Mage cart is actually an umbrella moniker, an umbrella term that multiple groups are operating under for anonymity. So right now, there's a cyber intelligence firm that is tracking all of these groups. Right now, they're tracking 7 unique groups. There's obviously more that are involved in card skimming and breaching web servers and implementing this card skimming code. But right now, this cyber intelligence company is only tracking 7 of these unique groups at the moment. Now, one of the things that companies can do to protect themselves against this type of attack, where their web server is breached and this card skimming code is added to the checkout form, is to implement application shielding from companies like Arxen. So what Arxen's technology will do is it will allow a company to implement code obfuscation where the code will get obfuscated. Now notice I said obfuscation and not encryption. It is possible to de-obfuscate the code, but what Arxen does is it takes additional layers of security such as tamper detection, automatic response, such as shutting a browser down, and real-time alert notifications. So if your code is getting tampered with, or if it's being analyzed by an adversary, the tool will notify the organization in real time so they can take further action. So that's my research that I'm currently going to be continue working on with Arxin. There's a third phase to the research where I'm going to be doing what's called dynamic code analysis. And unlike the phase 1's dead code analysis or static analysis, where I was just looking at the source code, in phase 3, I'll be doing runtime analysis, where I will execute the applications and also interdict the network traffic and look for things where the financial institutions aren't doing certificate pinning, which will allow me to perform what's called a man-in-the-middle attack, or what I like to say, person-in-the-middle attack, for gender conformity reasons, and looking at that traffic and analyzing it and seeing what vulnerabilities there are during runtime. So once I complete that, I'm going to be moving on to a broader API market report, where I'll be looking at API security companies. I've just finished research into 42 Crunch, which has an API security product. They do both static and dynamic code analysis for API applications, as well as an API firewall that allows organizations to actually proxy their API traffic through their cloud solution, which will also do inspection of that API traffic and ensure that there is no unauthorized, unauthenticated traffic going to the API server and taking action on it. So that's the API market report. I'm also going to be looking at API management gateways like MuleSoft and the idiosyncratic differences between API management gateways and API security solutions, API security gateways. I'm also going to be looking at breach and attack simulation companies like XM Cyber. Breach and attack simulation is a new product space that's been created, taking vulnerability scanning further. So what these platforms do is you create what are called attack scenarios. And what you're doing is you're defining a start and end point in that attack scenario. So let's say, for example, I take the XM Cyber product and I deploy it in my company. I can say, I want you to start within the conference room of the internal network, and I want you to see if you can actually make it to the cardholder data environment. I want you to identify vulnerabilities along the in-scope assets that you identify that's running the agent, and see if you can pivot into the cardholder data environment, exploiting vulnerabilities. If you're running their validation hub, where it goes beyond simulation, it will actually identify the vulnerabilities and exploit them until it arrives in the cardholder data environment. So the difference here is not only with vulnerability scanners, you're really just identifying vulnerabilities, hoping some are not false positives. So you can determine, okay, which vulnerabilities do I need to remediate first, hoping that you prioritize them right. With breach and attack simulation solutions, it really helps with that prioritization of vulnerabilities. Instead of giving you hundreds or even thousands of pages of vulnerabilities, it will give you maybe 3 or 4 pages. And it'll tell you the vulnerabilities in the kill chain that were successfully exploited for the solution to ultimately arrive in the target network or target subnet, let's say the cardholder data environment. So pretty interesting space. I'm also going to be looking at security orchestration and response solutions, which are SOAR. ServiceNow just recently released a new security orchestration platform. I'm also going to be taking a look at Demisto, which was recently acquired by Palo Alto Networks. So I'm going to look at all of the SOAR products in the SOAR market and doing a market-wide report on that, as well as a couple case studies. So that wraps up my research calendar for 2019. So keep an eye out. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, now Instagram TV. I can also be reached on LinkedIn, as well as my YouTube channel where I vlog. I also do podcasts, so I also host the IT Radio podcast as well as LeetSpeak. So no matter what medium you like to ingest your content in, whether it's text by just old-fashioned reading or video and audio, you can find my content. So that wraps up this first episode, and thanks for watching. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, write a comment on what kind of content you'd like me to cover in future episodes, whether it's women in cybersecurity or just more labyrinthine cybersecurity topics that you'd like me to help demystify and explain in a way that you can understand. So that wraps up this episode at Interop in Las Vegas. I will see you guys in London.